We talk about quadruped activities for the narrow ISAs. What the narrow ISA represents is actually a straightening of the ribs. And so if I was to represent the infrasternal angle with my fingertips here, so the thumbs represent the spine, and I've got a relatively round thorax, and let's just say I have some sort of normal dynamic ISA. But if I have a straightening of the rib cage, you can see that the infrasternal angle would become more narrow. And so what we need to do under those circumstances is we need to be able to bend the ribs. One of the easiest ways to do that is to put people in quadruped. Correct. So if I have a traditional forward head, which has a descended hyoid, right? All you got to do is give them a glass of water. And if you want to really emphasize it, you flip them upside down. You say bend over and swallow.
So gravity will bring the hyoid down with it.
Well, you have to bring the hyoid up against gravity. So,
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah, if you flip upside down and they swallow the water, then it makes the hyoid go up, and so you actually reduce a forward head by inverted swallowing. Tissues benefit from load. There's no question about that, right? There might be an adaptation, and again, there are adaptations that enhance performance, but may be detrimental in regards to the secondary consequence. But that's why we have to monitor things over time for change. It's like, what am I giving up? It's like, how strong does somebody need to be? Well, as soon as you start losing something that's more important or as important from a performance standpoint, then that's probably where you need to start thinking about making a change. So when we're taught how to measure ranges of motion in physical therapy school or in courses, there seems to be this consistent thought process that we are somehow in a magically imaginary neutral position, and the measures that we're taking are limited by tight muscles or some other mechanism. So we always have to fall back on this respiratory influence, right? Because the neck moves when you breathe, the dorsal rostral moves when you breathe, the lumbar spine moves when you breathe, the sacrum moves when you breathe, right? And so all the people that say, well, not everybody has a breathing disorder, that is correct. But the people that come see me, they have breathing problems too, right? It may not be the driver, but it might be a secondary consequence of something else. I think a lot of people don't quite understand the influence of how the physical shape of the axial skeleton truly influences the range of motion measures. When we talk about the two archetypes, what we have is an axial skeleton that is exhaled with an inhalation strategy that would be described as a wide ISA that does not have full breathing capabilities, which would be indicated by a lack of extremity motion. And so again, the wide under this circumstance is an inhalation strategy that is compensatory against the mechanics of the axial skeleton, which is better designed to be an exhaled axial skeleton. The converse of that, of course, is the inhaled axial skeleton, which would have a compensatory exhalation strategy, which is what you mentioned in your question, which would be the narrow ISA. But this is under the circumstances, again, somebody that does not have a full excursion of breathing from inhalation to exhalation. So when we talk about narrows and wides, we're talking about the compensatory breathing strategies. So body shape is, and then what are the needs? Because whereas I have a pitcher that I want to be able to turn and rotate, I might have a defensive lineman that if he gets turned, he just lost his job. And
right.
so again, this element of force output becomes a much different animal depending on who we're talking about. Typically when someone has pain, there is a limited adaptability in any system. It could be literally any system in the body that is influencing your ability to be adaptable. So typically when you have pain, you are less adaptable for some reason, but we have no idea what that is. And I think that a lot of people think that there is some sort of ideal, and I don't think that quite exists, at least not yet. We're not quite that good. And you'll see that there's a lot of commercial models that are available to us. And the reason that is that they all might be useful at some point in time. And when we're dealing with complexity, so humans are complex, movement is complex, activities are complex. Whenever we're dealing with complexity, there can be potentially more than one right answer, and that's just a byproduct of how complexity works. And so when you make decisions in a complex realm, you must use a model because you can't understand the details of the complexity. And the thing I want you to also understand is that it's okay where your model is right now. It may be useful, but understand that there's always going to be limitations to any model that you use.